The regular meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education, and we will stand for the flag salute, be led by Mr. Scott.
Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
We will now observe a moment of silence. Thank you. The adoption of the agenda, are there any changes?
Mr. President, if we could make a couple changes, please. I'd like to hear special concurrent item 2.1 after 8.10, and then hear special items 3.1 and 3.2 after item 10.2.
Okay, and we will move to approval of the minutes. If there are no corrections, they will stand as presented. Move into public hearings. Public hearing number 1, public hearing for the annual budget plan and the annual service plan for 2021-2022 for the Sierra Sands SELPA.
President Ferris, member of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and rest of the board, good evening. Background information. Assembly Bill 602 requires special education local plan area, SELPA, to submit an annual budget plan and an annual service plan that are adopted at a public hearing of the board, as required in Education Code Section 56205. Together, these plans must identify expected expenditures and include a description of services, the physical location of services, and must demonstrate that all individuals with exceptional needs are being met as specified in their IEP, Individual Educational Plan. Excuse me. Current considerations, according to the governance and policymaking process established when the Sierra Sands SELPA local plan for special education and completion. The process will be documented by evidence that a public plan for special education completion of the process will be documented by evidence that a public hearing has been held before the adoption of the annual budget plan and the annual service plan. Excuse me. The special education services provided by Sierra Sands SELPA are supported through a combination of special education, state and federal categorical funding, and the expenditure of which is documented in these plans. Superintendent's recommendation: it is recommended that the board conduct a public hearing on the annual budget plan and the annual service plan for the 2001-2002 school year. And the supporting documents. This is just public notice.
So the public hearing will be opened at 7:04. Anyone wish to comment on the document? If not, the hearing will be closed at 7:05. Moves us to item 2, public hearing for initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 year from the Desert Area Teachers Association to the Board of Education.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. The Desert Area Teachers Association submitted its initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year to the Board of Education at its regular meeting on March 11, 2021. A public hearing provides time for comment on this proposal. It is the superintendent's recommendation we conduct a public hearing on the proposal for the initial sunshine contract proposal for 2021-22 from the Desert Area Teachers Association to the Board of Education.
We will open the public hearing at 7:06. Does anyone wish to comment at this time, public hearing? Hearing and seeing no one, we will close the public hearing at 7:06 and a half. That will move us to reports and communication. Item 1, student members report. Madison, it's nice to have you here in person.
It's nice to be here. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to start with Monroe Middle School tonight. They say that ASB has kept the spirit going with Be Yourself Day and Easter Day Spirit Days, and the Fun with Friday Fun Days. This week we had Mustang Colors, Decades Day, Party Hat, Colorful Mask, and Pajama Day. We love the school spirit. Students can join ASB students and counselors during lunch on Fridays for fun, music, and games. 40 students were nominated for the Student of the Month in March. Congratulations! Murray celebrated music in our school in March with 2 virtual concerts. Concert orchestra and our bands performed. Our library will have a virtual book fair April 19th through May 2nd, which is a fundraiser for our library. Check it out at the virtual store on the Murray website. Items ordered will be mailed directly to the purchaser. The PBS Student Rewards Program awarded 150 prizes in March. 670 students have earned enough points to get a prize. Teachers have given out 117,281 points, an increase of 36,577. 6th grade students have earned 55,835 points, 7th, 33,644 points, and 8th, 27,802 points. We have had 2 students earn enough points to choose Mr. Pierce's outfit for the day. Students and staff were excited to return to the Murray campus for in-person learning, which started on April 12th. Over 340 smiling faces returned to campus and were greeted with music, welcome back signs, and the teachers, of course. Keep up the hard work, Mustangs. Now, we have Monroe Middle School. What an exciting week this week. Middle school students are back on campus. Monday morning, staff was warmly welcoming students through a balloon arc made by the PTSO. A banner was raised to invite the students back to campus after a year of separation. The energy across the site was palpable, and the smiling eyes were prevalent. The exciting event was a wonderful culmination of tremendous effort over the last several weeks. Teachers, paras, custodians, and maintenance staff all worked together to prepare the physical spaces, while counselors and office staff diligently called families to help remove barriers. More than half of our students are now attending classes in the mornings throughout the week. Upcoming events include in-person and virtual spirit days, such as sporting school colors and Purple Up this month to honor military families. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, teachers have already showed positive achievements in learning this week, as students who have disengaged previously began to demonstrate active participation. All right, and next we have Mesquite High School. What a month we have had. Like the other schools in Sierra Sands, Mesquite welcomed back students to campus learning for the first time in over a year. We have had a successful first week with close to 50% of our students on campus. We have had a very successful month academically with 9 graduates, bringing our total to 16 so far this year. ASP students are planning our first Spirit Day back on campus, Blackout Day, where you wear black, for this Friday, April 16th. Mesquite staff has been working together with Community Matters this year in establishing our school-wide expectations and PBIS matrix. This week, we have begun putting our work into practice, introducing these expectations to students by both teaching them specifically and leading by example. All right, and finally, Burroughs. Burroughs is back, and teachers and staff are thrilled to have students on campus. We now have a block schedule with 2nd through 4th periods on Monday and Thursday, 5th through 7th Tuesday and Friday, and everyone at home distance learning on Wednesday. A few weeks ago, counselors visited students' history classes and explained the courses available to them next year, and students have already selected the classes they would like to take through Aries. But first, juniors and seniors have to focus on studying to succeed on the AP tests that are coming up next month. Yes. Many Burroughs sports teams, now including winter sports, have resumed practice and look forward to competing. ASB continues to maintain school spirit through spirit days such as Dress to Impress Day and challenges including egg decorating. Seniors recently voted on prom court, and the student body eagerly awaits the results of prom king and queen. Additionally, ASB elections are underway. As expected, this year's race is unconventional. Students are campaigning solely through social media, and the general student body will vote after watching the candidate speech videos tomorrow. We are all very thankful to be back and look forward to the day when everyone is on campus again. Yes. Thank you, and those are some exciting updates from all of our schools this time.
Thank you so much. Brings us to item 2, reports from members of the board. Kurt or Tim, do you have anything? Mike?
I do, Bill.
Yes, Chad?
I do. Having some students going back to school, I got to drive my son on campus to Burroughs for their first day, and one of the major things that I saw was the number of faculty and staff outside to help facilitate all of the new protocols and welcome the students back. So I got to see that firsthand, and I thought they were doing a great job, and just wanted to extend thanks to the faculty and staff at all of our schools that have, again, shifted how they are delivering education and meeting the needs of our community. So just want to say thank you after witnessing it in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Mike?
And I just want to add to that, I just want to commend all faculty and staff. I've gotten a lot of positive comments from parents throughout the community. I'm just so glad to have the kids back in school. So thanks for all the assistance and everybody stepping up to the plate.
Excellent. Next, we move to item 3, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Ostash?
Thank you, Mr. Ferris. I'm going to go ahead and indulge the fact that I'm more than 6 feet away from everyone and be able to speak clearly. I have a number of things I'd like to share with everyone this evening. First of all, as customary, I'll give our attendance report and then talk a little bit about the in-person statistics and experiences that are phenomenal. For month 7, our total enrollment was 4,858. For those who remember, that's the same as last month, so there's been a little up and down, and it landed on the same number. But the good news is that last year it was 5,079, and our difference, we're down 221, but we're down less than we were down last month. And it'll be interesting to track and see what the trend looks like now that we're back in person and able to serve students in that way. But as Madison had talked about, and Dr. Houck and Mr. Scott and all, we really did. I'm not surprised, but it is remarkable what we have pulled off, what a difference a month makes. Last month we were talking about and describing our plans for opening up, and we were working fast and furiously. And here we are now on April 5, we lifted up with 70% of our elementary students returning back to their school sites, our 6 elementary schools. And then just a few days later, on Thursday, April 8, we had approximately 50% of our high school students at Mesquite and Burroughs High School. And then on this week, on Monday, April 12th, I think a little over 50% of our middle school students at Murray Monroe. And I believe that number will sort of climb. I believe that now that we're going with almost 3,000 of our 5,000 students in the classroom and learning, I believe that more and more students will and their families will enjoy getting their students back in person. But having said that, it is gratifying that we have a great distance learning program going. We have teachers who are very enthusiastically continuing that high quality program, and it's great to have a number of students and families be able to be served that way and not have to make a change in that program for the rest of the school year. So we have 2 great pathways going, and we're serving students extremely well. And kind of to Dr. Houck's point, the faculty, the staff, the school site leaders, our school principals, and then all of the teachers and all the support staff, the workers who come across and from every department in our school district. If we didn't have you there, we wouldn't be where we are. It's just, like I said, it's not surprising, but it is remarkable what we've done, how smoothly it has happened, how successfully it is going, and just very proud moments in Sierra Sands. I want to highlight, I've talked a little bit about various one-time federal and state monies that are coming down the pike to school districts. And I just want to highlight one of those funding streams that is right before us. It's called the Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant. Of course, we always make everything an acronym, so now we call that ELO money, ELO, Expanded Learning Opportunities. For Sierra Sands, that amounts to an approximate $3.4 million in eligible funds. It is not required that we receive and spend those funds, but it's an opportunity, and we will definitely seize the opportunity. We have to develop a plan and have it board adopted by or before June 1. And so as we have lifted up in-person instruction, there is no time to catch a breath because the ELO monies are valid from now until the fall of next school year. So we basically have 2 summer sessions, this coming summer and the next, and then the entire school year in between, the 2021-2022 school year, where we can imagine all kinds of supplementary services to help address learning loss. So I'm going to identify just a couple. I won't read much, but I'll just identify that the ELO grant funds are required to implement a learning recovery program that at minimum provides supplemental instruction support for social and emotional well-being, and to the maximum extent permissible under the guidelines of the United States Department of Agriculture, meals and snacks to, at a minimum, students who are included in one or more of the following groups. And there's low-income, English learners, foster youth, homeless students, students with disabilities, students at risk of abuse, neglect, or exploitation, disengaged students, and students who are below grade level. And so there are a number of ways that we can add services and opportunities in our district, and I'll just name a few. Obviously, extending instructional learning time, tutoring, learning recovery programs, educator training, or what we often describe as professional development, any number of provisions of health, counseling, or mental health services, community learning hubs, and then anything that would support credit deficient students to complete graduation or promotion requirements or to maintain grade level, et cetera. So it's a very, very wide range of opportunities for instructional and support opportunities, and so we envision some very robust educational and social emotional opportunities in the summer, and then continuing through the entire next year. But $3.4 million just for Sierra Sands, that is a huge opportunity for us to help address learning loss and the impacts of pandemic. Moving on to another few other items, it is customary that I make an annual announcement that for open enrollment. As it was last year, open enrollment will be handled completely online. The form will be available on the district homepage beginning May 1, which is www.ssusd.org. And any questions regarding open enrollment can be answered at your zone school. So obviously if you have any trouble with that, you can call the district office and we can help you with that. I wanted to highlight, we mentioned a little bit last month about the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, known as WASC. Both of our high schools received an accreditation visit this year, both Mesquite High School and Burroughs High School, and both schools did extremely well. I want to compliment Principal Mrs. McClelland at Mesquite, and I'll share just some of the school-wide strengths that were identified by the school and affirmed by the committee. A few of them at Mesquite. The staff of Mesquite High School have a collective focus on positive mentorship and growth opportunities for students. There's a clear school-wide focus on serving the whole student through character development, enrichment, and career-focused opportunities. And the staff is aware of the pandemic's impact on their students and families within the school community and working hard to support student success. So I appreciate everything that all the faculty and staff at Mesquite are doing. They got great affirmation and we had a great visit. Also, I'd like to highlight a few of the areas of identified strengths at Burroughs for their WASP visit and compliment Mrs. Cope, our principal there, and her team and her faculty and staff for all the great work. Some of those school-wide strengths were identified the community involvement and the trust and the school staff's dedication, school pride, and commitment to student success, resulting in initiatives that are improving student outcomes. Another area was an affirmation about the strength of the career and technical education pathways. The career pathways including CTE, which is Career Technical Ed, VAPA, the Visual and Performing Arts, our AVID program, our Advanced Placement program, our Community College Dual Enrollment program. And a few other strengths were the multiple opportunities to be involved in campus life, also the wide range of technology-based programs, like our pre-engineering program, and also the establishment of a teacher on a special assignment at the school, an EL coordinator, and additional socio-emotional counseling supports to help students and their families. So I really appreciate all the work that's going on at Mesquite and Burroughs, and it's nice to get that affirmation when you get a team of accreditation members who come from schools around the state of California, bring that outside perspective. And when they're able to affirm our findings and to pass along those strengths, it's very gratifying. A few other little announcements and things I want to highlight. First of all, I want to thank, I believe Ms. Hallback is in the audience here, our school liaison officer. Thank you so much. I know you were instrumental in helping Burroughs High School with the painting, the tradition of the painting of the bee. We were able to imagine that in a sort of COVID compliant way. We have May 1 set aside, I believe, all day. Groups of 25 seniors will be going up to Bee Mountain and enjoying that tradition, and I appreciate the support in that, Ms. Hallback. Thank you so much. The base has been great with that. Speaking of end-of-the-year activities, I do want to announce to everyone here and also to the community, if you're listening, that we know that Kern County moved into the orange tier on Tuesday of this week, and so we're really excited. We will in Sierra Sands be planning in-person graduation and promotion ceremonies. They will look much more normal than not. They won't be 100% normal because there are still actual guidelines that we are required to follow for the state of California. But so there will be some limitations and such, and it won't look exactly the same as 2 years ago, but it'll look much more normal than last year. So I won't share any of the details at the moment because faculty and staff are working on those right now, and we only just went to the orange on Tuesday, and we didn't know if we were or weren't, so we're glad we are. And so we'll be planning the in-person opportunities consistent with what the orange tier allows, which is much better than when we were in the red tier. So stay tuned for more information, and that information will be sent from the schools, from Murray and Monroe Middle Schools, and from Burroughs and Mesquite High Schools, and we're excited about that. We do have virtual open houses next week on April 19. Our virtual open houses will take place at Richmond and Pierce at 6 p.m. And then on April 20, Monroe and Murray will have their virtual open houses at 6 p.m. And then on April 21 at 6 p.m., Fowler and Inuit-Kern Elementary Schools. And then on April 22, Gateway and Las Flores will have their virtual open houses at 6 p.m. And if you go to if you contact your school site, they'll let you know what the Zoom link is if you haven't already gotten that. And then lastly, just an annual announcement that my annual performance evaluation will be conducted by the board on Tuesday, May 11 at 6:15 p.m. This will be a closed session meeting in Conference Room A at the district office. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Dr. Ostash. That brings us to item 4, report to the Board of Trustees by the Desert Area Teachers Association.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, teachers, staff, community. We're back. Yay. I'm wearing shoes and surviving, and that's a really big deal to me. I didn't know how that was going to work, but it's working. It's a relief. So the first few days, we're all back now, all the schools, and the first few days are a little bumpy, which we expected, so it was okay. We still have, it's not perfect, we still have an oversized workload, we still have, the occasional tech issues, some messaging, communication problems. Our lunches are more like late breakfast, but we have kids in desks, we have teachers at whiteboards, we have colleagues that we're able to talk to, and it's pretty great. On my first day back, I had a couple of students stay, class was over, and they're chatting with me, and then they start gushing like, oh, we've missed this so much, just saying nothing to teachers, checking in with them, and it really made me feel good. And I've had other teachers just say that to me in passing, So somebody said the joy is back. I'm like, oh, that's it. So it's not perfect. We knew it was never going to be perfect, but I think we had come up with a good plan. And at this point, it's working. What do we have? 7 weeks left. So say overall, it's nice to be able to stand here and say, look, we're back on campus. Things are going well. I know some of the teachers who are doing the full-time distance learning are loving it, so everyone seems to be pretty happy. I have to admit that I was just telling Nadine and Kathy I missed spending so much time with them because it seemed like we were constantly negotiating. So that's kind of sad, but I'm getting over it.
Thank you.
It was becoming like a regular thing. So anyway, it's delightful. I'll just leave it there. It's nice to be back.
Thank you so much. Brings us to item 5, report to the Board of Trustees by the California School Employees Association.
Hello, School Board President, board members, Dr. Ostash, staff, and community. First of all, I would like to say that the classified staff is happy to be back working on site with children. It was boring without kids. I'm also happy to say that our members are currently voting on our 2021 counteroffer from the district. Voting on that will end next Wednesday, and CSEA is looking forward to start negotiations on our successor as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to communications from the public. The board will provide time during the discussion of each agenda item for members of the public to comment. At this time, members of the public may address the board on an item that is not on the agenda. Comments should relate to items of public interest within the board's jurisdiction. The law does prohibit the board from taking action on items that are not on the agenda, but if appropriate, your comments will be referred to staff for response. When addressing the board, please state your name and address at the podium and limit your remarks to 3 minutes. In accordance with the board bylaws, the board will limit the total time of public input to 30 minutes. Those wishing to address the board beyond that 30-minute time limit will do so at the end of the scheduled meeting agenda. Have any takers this evening? If not, we'll close communication with the public, move to educational administration, 6.1, current county plan to provide educational services to expelled students 2021 through 24.
That's actually me. Okay. Prior to the Great Recession in 2008, Sierra Sands served the needs of our expelled students at a district-run community day school. As a result of the fiscal constraints in 08-09, the district was forced to eliminate the community day school program, which served the needs of students expelled from Sierra Sands Unified School District. Since that time, Sierra Sands has contracted with Kern County Superintendent of Schools to provide services to expelled students. The most recent adoption by the school board of the countywide plan for providing education services to expelled pupils was in 2018. The plan for providing educational services to expelled pupils is updated every 3 years. Ed Code Section 48926 requires each county superintendent of schools, in conjunction with the superintendents of the school districts within the county, to develop a plan for providing education services to all expelled pupils in that county. It further requires that the plan be adopted by the governing board of each school district within the county and the County Board of Education. The 2021-2024 plan enumerates existing educational alternatives for expelled students, identifies gaps in educational services to expelled students, and strategies for filling those gaps. There is no cost to the district to review and adopt the countywide plan as written. And I would just add this, in addition to what's on the board header, that the financial conditions are a little different now than the Great Recession, and we have actually internally reviewed pretty extensively whether or not we would like to spend local dollars on a program like this. But we have determined that that's not necessary because we have really been developing our capacity in the district. We're expending some of our LCAP dollars to lift up the way that we operate our on-campus suspension rooms in our secondary schools, and we've seen significant reductions in the numbers of annual expulsions. If you go back 10 years and beyond, it was not unusual to have over 50 expulsions in a year, and now we average our average is about 14 or 15 expulsions a year over the last 5 years. So there really has been no identified need to go anything beyond just being in compliance by adopting the Kern County plan as our plan. And it's my recommendation that we adopt the plan as written.
Move the recommended action.
Second.
I think we heard a second. So we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the board members? Comments? Hearing none, do we have any questions or comments from the public or staff? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. It will be a roll call vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is unanimous. That moves us to 6.2, adoption of the Automotive Mechanics, Health Careers, and Restaurant Careers textbook and instructional materials. Ms. Savko.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. College and career readiness is the foundation of California's new-ish accountability system. The Career Technical Education Model curriculum standards were revised in January 2013 to align to new accountability requirements and are designed to assist California districts and schools in developing high-quality curriculum and instruction to help ensure that students are career and college ready. In December 2015, the district began applying for and received Career Technical Education Incentive Grants. The purpose of the funding is to assist districts with the transition to the CTE model, content standards, and local control funding requirements, and to develop, implement, and sustain high-quality CTE programs that are based around 12 CTE elements. Alignment of CTE course outlines is a compliance requirement for Perkins and CTIG funding. Course outline revisions for the following pathways were approved at the regular board meeting on February 18, 2021. Automotive mechanics, systems diagnostics, service and repair pathway, automotive mechanics 1 for semester 1, and automotive mechanics 2 for semester 2. Health careers, patient career pathway, health careers 1 for semester 1, and health careers 2 for semester 2. And restaurant careers, food service, and hospitality pathway, restaurant careers 1 for semester 1, and restaurant careers 2 for semester 2. Based on an evaluation of instructional materials and alignment of the course outlines, textbook recommendations have been made for the courses. The recommendations were presented to the District Instructional Materials Review Committee, the DIMRC, on March 19, 2021. The DIMRC voted unanimously to approve the recommendations and to submit the recommendations for the board's consideration and approval. On March 23, 2021, notices were posted in the local newspapers, on the district's website, and the district's social media that the materials being considered for adoption were available for public inspection. To my knowledge, there were no public members who requested to review the materials. The recommendations are as follows. For automotive mechanics, the recommendation is Modern Automotive Technology for Maintenance and Light Repair, First Edition 2017. For health careers, 2 texts, Medical Law, Ethics and Bioethics for Health Professions, 7th edition, 2012, and The Language of Medicine, 12th edition, 2021. And for restaurant careers, Culinary Essentials, 2016. The anticipated cost of the automotive mechanics, $4,012, health careers, $2,952 and $2,629, and restaurant careers, approximately $2,434, for a total of $12,027 as estimated. The expenditure will be funded through the district's CTIG allocation. It is the superintendent's recommendation to approve the automotive mechanics, health careers, and restaurant careers textbook recommendations and related expenditures as presented.
Move the recommended action.
Move recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from board members? Questions or comments from the public or members of staff? Hearing none, we'll go to the roll call vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It makes it unanimous. That brings us to Personnel Administration 8.1.
Move 818283.
Have a motion for 8.1, 2, and 3. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Roll call vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous. Mr. All, that brings us to 8.4, approval of memorandum of understanding and agreement with the California School Employees Association, CSEA, and its Chapter 188 to establish the paraprofessional 3 position.
There are approximately 125 special education paraprofessionals in the district. Paras provide essential assistance to the classroom teacher with the instruction, training, classroom control, and supervision of special education students. Through discussion and partnership in the collective bargaining process in the 2017-18 school year, District and CSEA Chapter 188 leadership collectively determined that efforts should be made to develop a progressive career path for paraprofessionals. Over time, additional specialized training have become embedded into the resources that our SELPA department offers for the professional development of our paraprofessionals. At the July 19, 2018 meeting, the board approved the paraprofessional 2 job description, allowing personnel who had taken additional training to advance on the classified salary schedule. At the March 11, 2021 meeting, the board approved the paraprofessional 3 job description. The need for paraprofessionals trained in applied behavior analysis has become increasingly necessary. Parents of students with behavioral issues have been requesting personnel who are explicitly trained in ABA techniques and have the certification to demonstrate those skills. To avoid having to contract for those services with outside agencies, SELPA proposes to train paraprofessionals within the district's pool of employees. The training requires the employee to commit to 40 hours of online learning. The end result of the training is a certification of completion when the 40 hours are completed. After completion of the training, some employees may opt to take an examination. Upon successfully passing the examination, those employees would be registered behavior technicians. Because of the specialized nature of the training, the district requires flexibility in transferring paraprofessional 3s to different school sites based on the individual needs of district students, thus requiring the entering of this MOU with CSEA in order to allow the district to be able to move paraprofessional 3 employees to classrooms and sites as needed. After discussion with the bargaining unit's leadership, the district reached the attached memorandum of understanding and agreement with CSEA to establish the paraprofessional 3 position and memorialize the training opportunities to be provided to eligible employees who seek to apply for the paraprofessional 3 position, as well as the compensation and transfer rights applicable to the paraprofessional 3s. Financial implications. The addition of the paraprofessional 3 position is estimated to cost approximately $50,000. The cost of the 40-hour training is approximately $149 per participant. The fee for the examination is $50 per person, and the stipend for obtaining the registered behavior technician certification is $250. The total cost depends upon the number of paraprofessionals that take the training and the examination. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the memorandum of understanding with the California School Employees Association and its Chapter 188 to establish the paraprofessional 3 position.
Move the recommended action.
Move recommended action.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments by public or staff? We will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Unanimous. That moves us to item 5, adoption of resolution number 28, 2021, Classified School Employee Week, May 17th through 21st, 2021.
Every May, classified employees throughout California are recognized for their service to students and the educational community. Resolution number 28, 2021 declares the week of May 17th through 21st, 2021 as Classified School Employee Week in Sierra Sands Unified School District. Adoption of this resolution provides an opportunity for administrators, staff, parents, students, and the community to recognize the many accomplishments and contributions of our classified staff. A copy of Resolution number 28, 2021 will be displayed at all district schools and sites. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt Resolution number 28, 2021 as presented and approve May 17th through 21st, 2021 as Classified School Employee Week in Sierra Sands Unified.
Move the recommended
Move recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Questions or comments from members of the public? We'll call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It makes it unanimous. Brings us to item 6, adoption of resolution number 29, 2021, Teacher Appreciation Week and Day of the Teacher.
Each May, certificated employees throughout California are recognized for their service to students and the educational community. Resolution number 29, 2021, declares the week of May 3rd through 7th, 2021, as Teacher Appreciation Week in Sierra Sands. The resolution also designates May 4th, 2021, as National Teacher Day, and May 12th, 2021, as California Day of the Teacher. Adoption of this resolution designates a time when administrators, staff, parents, students, and the community have an opportunity to recognize and salute district teachers and their many contributions to our students' success. A copy of resolution number 29, 2021 will be displayed at all district schools and sites. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the board adopt resolution number 29, 2021 as presented and approved May 3rd through 7th, 2021 as Teacher Appreciation Week, as well as May 4th, 2021 as National Teacher Day, and May 12th, 2021 as California Day of the Teacher in the Sierra Sands Unified School District.
Move recommended action.
It's been moved and
Second.
seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? I just want to comment on both of these that, with all we've been talking about this evening, about what everybody's been going through to make this happen, this transition we've made, truly this is merely a symbolic recognition, but just one more recognition of what's been going on and the work people have been doing, and truly is appreciated. Okay, if no more comments, then we will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is again unanimous. It moves us to item 7, presentation of initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year from the Desert Area Guidance Association, Dega, to the Board of Education. Mr. Ault.
I don't know if anyone from Dega is here. If not, I would gladly accept on behalf of the board their sunshine proposal tomorrow. The Desert Area Guidance Association will submit their sunshine proposal to the Board of Education for the 2021-22 school year. The Desert Area Guidance Association, or Dega, will submit its initial sunshine contract proposal, and it's the superintendent's recommendation that the board receive the initial sunshine contract proposal from Dega and set the next regular meeting date as the date for the public hearing on the proposal. Again, I'd be happy to accept on behalf of the board Dega's sunshine.
Okay, any questions by board members? I'm assuming that we will accept it when it's presented, and the action we will actually take tonight is to set the date. Any other questions or comments? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Now I'll call, well, I guess we need a motion and a second to.
Move the recommended action.
Second.
And a second. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It is unanimous again. Brings us to item 8, presentation of initial signed contract proposal for the 2021-22 year from the Board of Education to the Desert Area Teachers Association.
Earlier this evening, we held the public hearing regarding the Desert Area Teachers Association sunshine for the 2021-22 school year. At this point, the district would like, on behalf of the Board of Education, to submit its initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 school year to members of the Desert Area Teachers Association leadership. It is recommended that the board present the initial sunshine contract, and they set the next regular meeting date as the date for the public hearing on the proposal.
Move the recommended action.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Guess I will second it. Any questions or comments? If not, I'll call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell? Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. I believe that makes it unanimous. Moves us to item 9, presentation of initial sunshine contract proposal for the 2021-22 year from the Chapter 188 of the California School Employees Association, CSEA, to the Board of Education.
Chapter 188 of the California School Employees Association will now submit their sunshine proposal to the Board of Education. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the board receive the initial sunshine contract proposal from Chapter 188 of CSEA and set the next regular meeting date as the date for the public hearing on the proposal.
Recommended action.
Been moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? If not, we'll call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell? Mr. Rockwell, did we lose you? Yeah, I have no. So we will mark him as absent for that vote. And myself, aye. Mr. Scott?
Aye.
That makes it unanimous by those voting. We move to item 10, revised job description for the Director of Technology position.
The integration of technology and education has increased significantly over the past 2 decades. Consequently, the technology department has grown to meet that need. As such, on July 16, 2020, the board took action and approved the creation of a new cabinet-level position titled Chief Technology Officer, or CTO. Subsequent to the approval, the former Director of Technology was appointed to the CTO position, which left the Director of Technology position unfilled. Consequently, the CTO is currently the only management-level administrator in the department. The district and the CTO were prepared to operate without a director temporarily. However, it has been the district's plan to either fill the Director of Technology position or create a new management position. In the 8 months since the CTO was appointed, he has had the opportunity to analyze department needs and has determined that the district will be best served if we reimagine and redefine the Director of Technology position. The Assistant Superintendent of HR and the CTO met several times to discuss the position and agreed to the modifications to the job description, which is attached. Among other things, the major duties and responsibilities of the Director of Technology position will include staff supervision, staff evaluations, developing schedules, assisting with the management of the technology department, ensuring staff is properly trained, and assisting the CTO with planning, organization, and administration of the technology department. As the technology department grew over the last many years, so did the Director of Technology's job responsibilities. Consequently, to maintain a competitive salary and to align with industry practice, the position has been moved from a Class 9 to a Class 6 position. Since the Director of Technology position is no longer the top management position for the technology department, and because the job description has been modified to align with the responsibility of other directors in the management rank, the position will be moved back to Class 9. Step 1 of the Class 9 salary schedule is approximately $84,000. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board approve the revised job description of the Director of Technology position as presented.
Recommended action.
Move recommended action.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments by board members? I would just like to comment that it certainly seems appropriate as the world changes, and in this year specifically so dramatically and so quickly, that this is an appropriate accommodation to be able to continue to serve our students in our district and with the IT needs that we're going to have and that we have now. Any questions or comments from the members of the public? If not, we will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell? Mr. Rockwell, could you hear us?
It said aye. Did you hear me?
I did not. Now I did. Thank you. Mr.
Okay,
Scott?
thank you.
Aye.
And myself, aye. This makes it unanimous. We will now move to the special concurrent agenda. Item Personnel Administration 2.1, ratification of the tentative agreement between the Desert Area Teachers Association, DATA, and the Board of Education regarding settlement of contract issues for 2021.
Data and the district reached a tentative agreement regarding contract language changes and proposals. Both Data and the district agreed to settle on Articles 3, 4, 5, and 6 with little change in recognition of the rigorous work that had to be done due to COVID-19 and implementing distance learning. In addition, both of the parties agreed that financial conditions were uncertain due to the governor's stay-at-home order and the subsequent impact on the economy. However, there are a few notable changes to the collective bargaining agreement as a result of negotiations. The Articles 2, 4, 5, and 6 are included in the board packet with the noted changes in red. The financial implications: there will be minimal costs incurred by the changes in the tentative agreement. The addition of a life insurance policy will cost the district approximately $7,711 on an ongoing basis. And the addition of differentiated pay stipends will also have a minimal cost. It's the superintendent's recommendation that the board ratify the tentative agreement between the Desert Area Teachers Association and the Board of Education regarding contract issues for the 2020-21 school year as presented.
Move recommend action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments by members? Go ahead.
I've got
Go ahead,
one.
Kurt.
Yeah, I was looking at the schedule for stipends, and we seem to have had confusion in the past around assistant coaches or assistant middle school coaches, and who got compensation and who didn't. The document that was in the packet seemed to kind of perpetuate that confusion, if that makes any sense. Is there any thought to clarifying that a little bit?
I can tell you what the intent of our negotiating was with regards to the differentiated schedule. There were a couple of positions that we felt either needed to be changed or added, but it was, for the most part, directed towards the secondary sites and not necessarily regarding the middle school coaches. In other places, the number of stipends that are available to coaches are limited, and at times I know that there are some things that are done either with boosters or in just people volunteering, that there are coaches that receive some other kind of stipend or they agree to volunteer their time. So the middle school coaches were really not what we were focused on. So I guess I can't really respond directly to that.
I guess what it states is that middle school coaches get whatever the stipend is. I don't remember the specific numbers, but if I was a go-getter, middle school parent looking to help out my kid and wanting to go be an assistant coach on the basketball team, I may look at that and say, hey, cool, I helped my kid and I get a couple grand for doing it. Seems like it ought to be clearer on documentation that is out in the public eye as to what those are. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
We can take that under advisement.
I understand.
Nothing had changed from the past to the current, so I guess I would just say we'll take that under advisement. We can certainly open, that article will be open for the next round of negotiations, so we can take that under advisement then.
Any other questions or comments by board members? Any other questions or comments by members of the public? If not, we will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott? Aye. Myself, aye. That makes it unanimous. That brings us to general administration. Report to the board of the nature of resolution of complaints with regard to the deficiencies related to the instructional materials, emergency or urgent facilities conditions that pose a threat to the health and safety of public or staff, teachers, vacancy, or misassignment as required by the Williams Act.
President Ferris, since there's been no complaints and this is just for informational purposes, I make a recommendation that we accept the report.
Okay, it's been made recommendation we accept the report and move on. Move to item 2, adoption of the board meeting calendar for 2021-22 school year.
That'll be me. Board bylaw 9320 states that the regular meetings of the board be held on the first and third Thursday of each month or as designated on the board meeting calendar. During the 2010-11 school year, the board designated the third Thursday of every month as the regular meeting of the Board of Education, with special meetings of the board scheduled as needed. In an effort to align with requirements to submit approved fiscal reports to the Kern County Superintendent of Schools for review on or before the 15th day of September and March, meeting dates during those months have been designated as the first, second, or third Thursday of the month. The meetings are also designated by board bylaw to be held at 7 p.m. in the Ridgecrest City Council chambers. Current considerations: it is recommended that the regular board meetings for the 2021-2022 school year be conducted on the following dates as described there. There are no financial implications, and I recommend that the board adopt the board meeting calendar for the 2021-2022 school year as presented.
Move recommended action.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments from members of the public or staff? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott? And myself, aye. That makes it unanimous. That moves us to Construction Administration. Item 10, 10.1, report to the board, construction activities and issues. Mr. Coit.
President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff and community, I'm pleased to give this update on the status of the district's construction activities. This report is presented for informational purposes only and no action is required. For our DoD Richmond School project, the Federal Evaluation Team has invited Sierra Sands to participate in a virtual site visit of the Richmond School on April 26th. District staff is working with Ray Hawker to produce a virtual video tour that will include the existing Richmond School site, the proposed new Richmond School site, and Murray School. The video will also feature the NAWS China Lake installation and an overview of the surrounding community. The virtual meeting will continue with a review of our project proposal, construction execution, district match funding, installation requirements, and a Q&A session. One of our last projects for our earthquake repairs is the Vuewig water line. The Navy Real Estate Department has agreed to amend the current Vuewig school lease to allow the installation of a new water line along the north side of Rose Street. This water line will provide for a more reliable fire protection of the school site. We plan to install and connect the new 8-inch water line for fire protection and place a new 3-inch water line in the same trench for a future connection to the Indian Wells Valley Water District to supply the site's domestic water needs. This work will go out for bid later this month, and proposals will be ready for your consideration at the May 20th board meeting. And any questions?
Thank you. Any questions of Mr. Coit? Thank you so much for the update. That brings us to item 10.2, report to the board, private LTE project update. Mr. Morrison.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff and community. We are starting to get a little bit clearer picture about where we're at with DSA and in that process. So we have some timelines I want to go over tonight, but I have to make a little disclaimer first. We don't know for sure how long things will take in DSA. They could take longer than what we're expecting. They could take shorter. We're hoping on the shorter, but I just want to make that little disclaimer first. But that being said, we have put a lot of time into making sure that the documents are as complete as possible and that we've tried to address any questions that they may have ahead of time to try to make sure that we get through that process as quickly as possible. So Just please understand that these are estimates at this point, but based on what we know right now. And I'll also say, too, that these estimates are kind of based on past practice, what we kind of know from DSA, as well as what we've been hearing from other folks about how long things have been taken and that nature. So anyway, with that said, let's dive into it. So all submittals would be turned into DSA and the city by April 27th. Some of those will go sooner, and they have different timelines that they're going in, but they will all be submitted by April 27th. We are expecting Fowler, Las Flores, and the district office to get approved and be back to us by the end of May or early June. We are expecting Inyo Kern to be approved and back to us by June or late June or early July. And the reason for that is that we're going to have to take the existing design to DSA, get that approved because it was never approved when it was installed. So we got to get that out of the way, and then we can submit the new design for the new antennas we're putting on there. So we expect a little bit extra time to go in with that. Once things have been approved and we get that back from them, the installation at Las Flores and the district office are expected to take about 2 weeks. So we expect those two sites to be operational by June. It's quite possible the district office, because we submit that to the city building department, that we may get that a little sooner. So I don't want to get too carried away, but it's possible that by the time next time we come see you, we will already be working on the district office. But we'll just leave it at that for now. Fowler will take about 4 to 5 weeks for installation, and so that is expected to be operational in July. And then Inyo Kern is expected to take only 2 weeks for installation, but because of the extended time at DSA, we are estimating around July or early August. One thing I'll say is that we do expect that they will all be operational by the time school starts next school year. That being said, again, just a little disclaimer about DSA, there's some things we can't control. So aside from that, what have we been up to? Well, of course, we've been finalizing all the design reports, making sure that that, like I said, is as good as can be, hoping that we'll get through the process. Mr. McGowan has also been working with Vector to finalize the path of travel at the school sites. They also worked to install some pull tape in there so that that is ready to go once we get approval and we can move forward. So we're continuing to do some things to hope to expedite the installation process and just get things going as much as we can as we're waiting through this DSA process. That's all I have for you tonight. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions or comments by board members? I would just comment that this is a very exciting time and a very important step forward for our district. So thank you for all your hard work.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for your report. We will now move back to the concurrent agenda. Construction Administration 3.1, authorization to enter into an agreement with High Desert Construction for improvements to Murray Middle School lunch shelters. Mr. Coit.
On June 15, 2017, the board approved a contract with National Carport Industries for material, fabrication, delivery, and installation of lunch shelters as part of the Murray School construction project. The shelters used a DSA-approved engineering design by Forstell Engineering, and specifications were to 110-mile-an-hour wind loads. NCI subcontracted with Tomco for installation of the shelters. In June of 2018, the shelters were damaged by high winds. NCI agreed to send additional material at no cost to the district in order to make necessary repairs, which were made by Tomco. In July of 2018, it was noted that during high winds, the shelters displayed significant fluttering and warping. The district became concerned about the safety of the shelters. A construction change order document, CCD, was issued to reinforce the way the shelters attached to the post, to change angles of the shelters, and to meet 130-mile-an-hour wind speed requirement. This change was implemented by Even Flow Construction in December of 2018. In January 2019, the shelters were approved and signed off by the inspector of record. However, the shelters continued to display significant movement at high winds. The district consulted with legal representation, and it was advised that although litigation could be initiated, due to the involvement of NCI, Forstel, and Tomco, as well as documentation issues, litigation could be difficult and costly. Given their current relationship with the district and that previous involvement with the Murray project, IBI Group and Colombo Construction have agreed to assist the district in resolving the issue. IBI Group has developed and obtained DSA approval of a design to augment the single-pole design with a four-pole design. The district, through Colombo Construction, requested bids for the project. High Desert Construction submitted the lowest bid for the project. The proposed cost for this project is $55,317. The project will be funded by Fund 40, School Facilities Fund. It is recommended that the board approve an agreement with High Desert Construction for improvements to the Murray lunch shelters as presented.
Recommended action.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments by board members? I would just like to comment that I really appreciate the Maintenance and Operations Department's pro-action activity on this to avoid disaster and take care of something that just didn't ever turn out right in the beginning and get it taken care of for the safety of our kids. It's the way things should be done. So thank you so much for that. If there are no other questions or comments from members of the public, if not, we'll call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott? Aye. Myself, aye. Makes it unanimous. Brings us to 3.2, authorization to approve agreements with multiple companies for earthquake repairs to the Sierra Vista Education Center Canopy. Mr. Coit.
The district suffered damage to the Sierra Vista Education Center as a result of two earthquakes in July of 2019. In the structural damage assessment performed for the facility, it was noted there had been excessive movement on the exterior canopy. This caused the canopy post to twist and damage connections between the posts and the building. In some instances, there was a complete separation of the canopy from the main building. It was also noted that the canopy was not likely to perform well in another large seismic event. Over the course of the last 20 months, the district has worked with Colombo Construction and Ortiz Melby to determine the best way to repair the canopy without complete demolition or replacement. A design was developed by Ortiz Melby and Associates for structural repairs of the canopy. The district solicited bids for the various components of the canopy repairs, which include concrete, painting, electrical, roofing, and general construction. The district initially solicited bids in March. However, due to a limited number of bids received, as well as the fact that several bids were higher than Colombo estimates, bids were resolicited in April. Colombo has recommended that the district award contracts as follows: High Desert Construction for concrete and general construction, Nations Roof West, LLC for asphalt shingle roofing, Elate Painting and Wall Covering, Inc. for painting, Jared Electric for electrical. The cost of these contracts is High Desert Construction concrete, $35,100. High Desert Construction general construction, $425,952. Nations Roof West, $89,215. Elite Painting and Wall Covering, $37,200. Jared Electric, Inc., $76,100. Total costs, $663,567. It is anticipated that 75% of this funding will be reimbursed by the California Office of Emergency Services. The remaining 25% will come from Fund 40, Capital Facilities Fund. It is the superintendent's recommendation that the board authorize the district to approve agreements with High Desert Construction, Nations Roof West LLC, Elite Painting and Wall Covering, and Jared Electric as presented.
Move recommended action.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members? Any questions or comments by members of the public or staff? We will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott? Aye. Myself? Aye. It makes it unanimous. Moves us to business administration. Mrs. Smith, 11.1, approval to enter into an agreement with the Central Restaurant Products for 1 electric kettle and 2 combination oven steamers.
Good evening, President Ferris, members of the board, Superintendent Ostash, staff, and community. On March 17, 2020, in accordance with the California Governor's State of Emergency Declaration and Executive Order N2620, Sierra Sands Unified School District transitioned from an in-person on-campus instruction model to a distance learning model due to the novel coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. The district continued to deliver instruction through the distance learning model in the 2021 school year per Senate Bill 98 guidelines. The district will be transitioning from distance learning to in-person instruction over the next several weeks. The Child Nutrition Services Department will provide hot meals to students attending small cohorts and child care hubs, grab-and-go meals to students attending in-person hybrid classes, and grab-and-go meals to members of the community under 18 years of age under the Seamless Summer Feeding Program. Therefore, cooking kitchens will be preparing both hot and grab-and-go meals on a daily basis for delivery at all school sites, as well as the grab-and-go pickup locations previously used. The electric kettle at the Vuewig kitchen is no longer functioning correctly and requires replacement. The ovens at Las Flores and Vuewig are older models that are difficult to maintain and do not cook efficiently. Models are now available with hooded steamers on top, which allow staff to cook small batches of sauces and hot foods necessary for the hot meals, simultaneously with the large batches necessary for grab-and-go meal preparation. The steam capability also allows food to stay warm. This will result in more efficient meal preparation and higher quality meals for students. The Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act includes funding under the Elementary and Secondary School Relief Fund. One of the allowable uses for ESSER funding is other activities that are necessary to maintain the operation and continuity of services in local education agencies. The purchase of the kettle and combination ovens has been determined to be an appropriate use of the ESSER funds. The cost of the 2 oven steamers and a stationary kettle is $38,712. Funding will come from ESSER funds. It is recommended that the board approve the agreement with Central Restaurant Products for 1 electric kettle and 2 combination oven steamers as presented.
Move recommended action.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments by board members?
President
Yes,
Ferris. Excuse me. I just want to, as my kids were going back to school, I was hearing how we're continuing to provide meals for everybody, not just the free and reduced that we used to do, correct?
That's correct.
Correct, yes. Well, it's an excellent thing. I just wanted to highlight that we're still offering all these meals for everybody, and to be able to get what we need to do that is super important. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments by board members? Any other questions or comments by members of the public or staff? We will call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
I'm so tempted to make a funny noise, but I won't.
Thanks a lot, Kurt.
Dr. Houck did cause me to double take, I will say.
Hey, that's why I stayed home tonight.
No,
Trying to do
you
the
just
right
wanted
thing.
to prove to us that was legit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you were successful
Thanks.
and added levity to our evening. Thank you so much. Mr. Scott? Aye. And myself, aye. It makes it unanimous. Okay, we will now temporarily adjourn the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education to conduct the meeting of the Interkern Schools Financing Authority. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes to the agenda.
Then we will, if there are no corrections to the minutes, they will stand as presented. We move to item 3, general administration, adoption of the Board of Directors meetings calendar for the 2021-22 school year.
Move recommended action.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions by any board members? Any questions or comments, members of the public? Hearing none, we will call for the vote. The real Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
All right.
Mr. Scott? And myself, aye, it's unanimous. We will now adjourn the meeting of the Indian Current Schools Financing Authority, reconvene the meeting of the Sierra Sands Unified School District Board of Education, and move to the consent calendar.
Move entire consent calendar.
We have a motion and a second for the entire consent calendar. Any comments or questions? Any comments or questions from the public or staff? If not, we'll call for the vote. Dr. Houck?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Rockwell?
Aye.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Myself, aye. It's unanimous. And are there any future agenda items? If not, we will adjourn. Thank you for coming this evening.
Thank you.